Hi, and welcome to the Daily Pulse. I'm Danielle McFadden. I am the guest co-host. Yes, after over 100 episodes, Teddy has entrusted me to carry on today. So I'm very excited to be here. This podcast is brought to you by WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. I'm so excited to have our guests on with us today. Great sport. We've had a really great conversation off air. We won't bring all of that on air. But we have Brian Durkin, LeLacheur and Ryan Rourke.
Good morning.
Thanks.
Great to be here.
Great to have you guys. So I want to talk about a lot of things. I wanted to bring the three of you on because you're very involved in youth sports in Lowell, which I've become involved in through my children, and I just see all the hard work and heart that goes into it from your end. You're all parents that have kids in the Lowell school system, and as many people know, I'm running for a school committee at large. So I wanted to bring on parents who have their kids enrolled in the Lowell school system. And you're all involved in the community on other levels besides youth sports. And two of you have even ran for office in the past.
Unsuccessfully.
So we'll wait for the advice after towards the end.
What was that? Or Teddy.
Yeah.
Teddy will not endorse me.
Exactly.
Right.
So
That's very nice. That's very nice of him.
I do not want the Teddy bump. Yes, I do not want that. So can we start to talk about youth sports in Lowell Youth Baseball and Softball League and how kind of these programs have helped students throughout Lowell build confidence, friendships, life skills, all of that fun stuff. And then we can talk about the epic summer that we had last year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Sure. You want to kick off?
Sure.
Attorney Durkin?
Yeah, let our attorney speak first.
So, I'm Brian Durkin. So my role with Lowell Youth Baseball and Softball is I'm the Director of Player Development for baseball. So what we've really tried to do from 5-year-old all the way through 16-year-old now, we've incorporated 16 into senior league, is we've tried to make the most inclusive environment possible. We're trying to make that the teams have extreme parity. So there's not one team that's going out there and steamrolling. We're across the city now. So we've touched every area of the city. We're still really working towards incorporating some of the missing demographic in the city. You know, we've gone out to the Lowell Boys and Girls Club.
Great.
We've gone out to different communities to try to incorporate everybody. But the bottom line is we're trying to make it as inclusive for everybody as possible, develop skills, develop friendships that last from, Matt and I played together when we were 10 years old. And here we are, now on the board along with Ryan of Lowell Youth Baseball to try to make it better for everybody and more inclusive.
Yeah, I guess I'm sitting in the middle for the reason because I'm the crossover between the two because I'm in baseball and softball. Don't worry, Brian will be there soon with his 2-year-old. Good decision, champ.
Oh, Ryan too.
Ryan,
Yeah.
Good job, boys. Can't wait to watch you from the stands someday.
We'll shut the lights off when you're all gone.
Yeah, thank you. But I can tell you, giving a little bit of the softball perspective to bring it over, I think for whatever reason, I've become so unbelievably drawn to the softball side in this first year because on baseball, we kind of have it figured out. We kind of know what we're doing as far as getting everything together. On the softball side, we do as well, but the numbers, the amount of kids that are coming in, and as Brian speaks to, the inclusion side and the softball side seems to be so much stronger. We struggle on the baseball side to be able to have a lot of the Southeast Asian community and a lot of the Hispanic community in the baseball side, which it's not from lack of effort, as Brian had said. And then on the softball side, we don't seem to have that as much. And so there's things we're going to learn as we figure this out over a couple of years that hopefully will just continue to grow it. And it's just, you spoke to the word confidence. I can give a quick story last night. Quick story. There's a girl on our softball team in a playoff game last night, and I don't know if she had swung the bat yet this entire season. She would back up on every pitch. She was afraid of every single time. And so we had a little drill prior to where coach maybe laid down on the ground behind her while she was swinging. So if she stepped back, she'd step on me. And it was kind of funny. But the point is she gets in. First at bat, she grounds out to first base for an RBI. First time she's hit the ball the entire season, and then she gets a hit to give us the go-ahead run later in the game. That's why you do it. That's why I hope every kid will go. That's why I hope every parent understands that your child does not have to be destined for the pros or college to be able to do it.
Absolutely. Just to echo that, this whole endeavor that we put together is just a lesson in collaboration. You've had 4 or 5 parks that have been around for 50, 60 years historically, and neighborhood pride and all of that. to try and break that down and collaborate, it took years. I mean, I've been coaching in this capacity and in some capacity for one of these leagues since 1997, 8. So it's been a while.
You must have been like fresh out of school.
Yeah, well, Mr. Martell made me do it, so
All right.
it is what it is.
Wow, it's a long time.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm much.
I was
younger
an
than you
8. I
think.
graduated from St. Margaret's in
Yeah,
1997.
Good
Exactly. Well, you sometimes when you volunteer to say, hey, listen, I'll coach my little brother's team.
Absolutely.
And then you never leave, and then
Yeah.
you have your own kids, and then when we put the whole thing together, like, oh, Ryan, you have the youngest kid, so you have to be at the top of the masthead. Thanks, guys. So honestly, it really is sort of a groundwork on how other organizations should partner together. I understand we had a common theme in baseball, but we were all run very differently.
Absolutely. And you all didn't know each other either.
We all know each other to some extent.
So like Chris Snow and some others.
Sure. Yeah, you really, well, Chris kind of has the same format of kids I have. They're really spaced out. So I've known Chris for a bit. But just putting that in place and having folks sort of collaborate together, it's been great, obviously, for the parents to get to know each other, but it really has trickled down to the kids. When you can teach sort of those leadership skills, where you have the kids who are super experienced and take a lot of training, a lot of kids on the Boomers, so shout out to the Boomers. But having the kids they're rookies, they're just starting out.
Yeah.
To have those two groups of kids interact, it's going to really help these kids with their leadership skills and just integrating into being productive adults at some point.
Just a really important part is, up until 3 years ago, the city was all different. It was Shed Park, it was the Highlands, it was Centerville, it was PYO, and it was the Highlands Sports Athletic Association and Calgary, right?
Yep.
And then ultimately, when we came together, what you realize is that everybody's fighting for the same goal, just in their own little section. When we went universal, right, and we went citywide, what we realized is that Matt, when he takes care of the Pawtuckaville fields, because that's where he's from, right, he does the same thing when he comes to Shed. He rakes Shed. I rake Pawtuckaville. We all start to take care of everybody else's fields, and there's this collective beauty that goes across the green spaces. And the parks have been great. Parks Department has been fantastic to work with us, but it's also we're pulling in families, we're pulling in volunteers, we're pulling in people that actually aren't even associated with our sports, because they see something cool going on, which is the city has come together in collaboration with a volunteer organization, and we're making something better for the kids starting at age 5, and then we're creating pride in the city. We're creating pride in the parents. They want to be part of something, and then we get the ball rolling, which essentially rolls into your next point of the summer we had last year. It was an amazing experience.
If we only could have done it in 2016, so we'd have a high school at College Stadium, would be. Teddy, I got it in.
What was the over under on? What was the over under?
I got it in for you.
You got 1 point, right? That was it.
The 1 point plan.
You said you have 3 points. You have 4 points.
Yeah.
I subtracted 1. I got 3 now.
And you let me
I got 2. I got 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I have so many points, and I'm not subtracting any of them. But it was an amazing summer for youth baseball. I wrote about it quite a bit through Inside Lowell. And one thing that I wrote about was just how dedicated all the coaches are, all the board is, and that you made it happen for the kids. And that's what I love about Lowell. It's like one of the reasons why I am here and working here and running for school committee, is because I love the fact that we all collaborate and that we all see the common good. And I think we need to do more of it.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, the pride that comes not just from being involved in it, but hopefully the people that see that we can go out to anywhere across Massachusetts and across New England and show off our kids, and not just the way they play, but the way they carry themselves, by the way that, when people come to our tournaments here, the way we maintain our fields, that you can't know how many times some of these families will turn and say, wow, I wish we could have this in our
That's
town.
amazing.
How often does that happen in Lowell?
Yeah.
And it's nice for us to have that, and for us to look at ourselves that way, instead of always having to look at what Lowell doesn't have or what we wish Lowell would do. We have something here that other people are envious of. And so let's just build on it.
And we can all play a role in that. Everybody,
Absolutely.
anybody listening,
Absolutely.
anybody watching can play a role in that. And it's youth sports, but it happens on so many other levels. Like, I think it was this year that Lowell High's show choir won a title for the first time in so many years. The boys basketball team did incredible this year. The track team, I believe, was state champions. I mean, there's so many things.
ROTC.
I mean, you could go on. And that's why anybody watching and listening, obviously, pays attention to Inside Lowell and following some of the articles that come out that follow all of these great things. And as a community, we can come out and we can go to the games and the shows and the practices and really support these kids. You don't have to have a kid in the school system to be involved and to be cheering on these kids.
Well, the other part of it too is that like the Boomer baseball program, right? For Boomer baseball and softball, that what they do is they offer an opportunity for Lowell kids to come together. And basically, we're an extension of Lowell Youth Baseball. It's all Lowell kids that go out and have an opportunity to compete at a higher level. What it's also doing is like we hosted a Memorial Day tournament. We brought teams in from Schenectady, New York, from Albany, New York. There were like 46 teams. They came in from Maine, from all over the place. They came down to Lowell. They were blown away by the fields. They were blown away by the offerings of the restaurants and the amenities around here. They were blown away by the experience. And the bottom line is,
they were just looking for a hotel that would be maybe over by the Athenian. That was the
Yeah,
one
that
thing
would be-
was missing.
Well, there is a hotel in Lowell. It's the Sonesta Hotel Select over by the Showcase Cinema, and they are a sponsor of Inside Lowell.
That's where they all were.
Remember.
That's where everybody was.
Drinks at the pool.
But that's the bottom line is we gave them an opportunity to come to Lowell, see what we've been talking about forever. They've all committed to come back. More people want to come.
Sure, we're overbooked every
And
year.
then the best part about it is that we're giving Lowell kids an opportunity to do what other communities are doing, which is have our kids play together, in a competitive environment. Then we roll into the summertime, and then we go out and we have this tremendous amount of success because our kids who are playing at a higher level are playing together consistently. Our kids that are playing, from like an extension of rec are playing and placed at MVC level. So they're playing against, neighboring communities, Tewksbury and Drake. It's there. The model is there, and we're keeping all these kids engaged and involved, and it's all in collaboration with a private, baseball organization that hosts a tournament, and all the proceeds from what they raised at their concession stands and everything went right back to Lowell Youth Baseball and softball.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
and I would say that model can be duplicated and is duplicated even on the basketball side. And so this leads into, it's not just a baseball, this is a youth activities and not just sports. It doesn't have to be baseball. It doesn't have to be softball. It doesn't have to be basketball.
Right.
But travel basketball is free in Lowell now, thanks to the work of a lot of individuals. Highland League, which Brian can speak to better than I, but has been involved in forever. The Highland Basketball League, that's the rec level basketball. So for families that are in this community, it's here. Just let everybody help, and what it does for the kids, as you said, the confidence, the friendships, the relationships, it's vital. It's vital to
and
building
rec basketball this year, it was like, I think the boys were on the same team this year, which was fabulous. And there were a couple of kids that hadn't scored yet, and we got back down to the last couple of games, and everybody ended up scoring. But like when the kid scores that hadn't scored yet, and, I mean, every parent's excited, right? It's not just their parents; it's like us all cheering on each other's kids, and it's special.
And that's really nice in that instance is the kid that scores 15 a night will always remember when little Johnny or Janie scored that first bucket, and when they see each other in the hall, there's high fives, this whatever, and think of what that does for everybody's confidence and everybody's understanding of each other. It's wonderful.
It is.
Absolutely. Just one more way to connect. I love it.
There was an article actually written. Rosie Rosario shared it to our board the other day about the Lincoln School and the program that they're running for baseball. They have the baseball field right next to it on Durkin Field, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they're working through, kids playing and learning the game and all those things. Two different things. It's an amazing thing because baseball is both the most rewarding and humbling sport in the world. Softball the same, right? But these kids are learning teamwork. They're learning failure and how to overcome it. They're learning how to play together. They're learning how to function as a community. It's an amazing thing. We also want those kids to come play in Lowell Youth Baseball. But what they have going on there is remarkable, but it's happening. It's happening around Lowell. Kids are starting to get that it's good to work together. It's good to be part of something. And it's good to rise up together. It's pretty special.
I love that it's the whole community and the whole city too. Because like now my kids have friends from like all around, not just Pawtuckettville where we live, but every neighborhood.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then when they play each other, so they're on Landers on Boomer, and then when they play like their Boomer teammates on Rec, like you can see them like over first base, they like big smiles on there, or cheering on the opposite team when someone gets a run.
In the senior league game in our quarterfinals the other night, we had a kid that's played with all of us on the mound, and another kid that they all play high school together, where they hit one out against him, and the fun that was had on
yeah.
all sides when a home run like that happens, and then they think it, and the mound goes out and strikes out the another kid the next time. It's awesome. It's fun to watch. It's really fun to see.
But back in the 1900s when we grew up,
I hate that.
Right?
My
That's
horse,
like-
my buggy.
Oh, good day.
Matt was in the Highlands. I was at Shed. We hated them. I didn't know who. I knew
Yeah.
who he was because I've seen them, but I didn't
Yeah.
know who they
You
were.
used past that.
And they were
I still hate you.
well.
It's okay. All right, now.
Right?
There's nothing but love on this podcast.
But they were
on the Daily
factions.
Post.
I grew up south of Pine Street, so I hated the Highlands because I was Calorie.
That's right.
And it's the same neighborhood.
But that's
Doesn't make any
gone now,
sense.
which is crazy.
now we just hate Chelmsford. We hate
Yeah.
Westford, and it's awesome.
One of my kids was going, I hate Chelmsford. I was like, stop that.
Nope, they're part of the Greater Lowell Chamber, and so
Yeah, no,
everybody.
We love you, Chelmsford.
We
Make
love you,
sure.
Chelmsford.
We'll hit you for 2 hours a week when we play you.
Yeah.
You'll be our friends.
So as parents, coaches, community leaders, we obviously want to lead by example. How can we show other people, other parents, other community leaders how to kind of get involved?
I watched recently your segment that you had with, and it's used to be NYSP. I forget the name now. The
Lowell Youth Leadership
Lowell
Program?
Youth Leadership
Oh,
Program. I watched
I
what,
love that organization.
and I sat the whole time thinking, well, they've now taken themselves from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. They've expanded. They've done all, and that's a very well-run nonprofit organization. I'd like to think that we are a pretty well-run nonprofit organization. I think one of the things that we probably could, the next level we could get to, is collaborating with those groups to see where the crossover is. What families do you guys reach that we're not reaching? What parents are helping you that aren't
I love
helping
that
us?
idea.
I think that success breeds success.
Yeah.
And so if we could, I think that's a wonderful way that maybe we could help each other, help everybody, and even help the rec program. You know, what Peter Faticanti has to do for the summer Parks and Rec program. Maybe there's a crossover and a collaboration there. That's what Lowell's always been good
Yeah.
at. That's really been our strength. We've always been able to do that, to collaborate, to kind of solve the problems.
And sometimes it's getting people just in the door, right? If they
Right.
went to a rec program or something and spoke or played a game, and then they're like, okay, I want to get more involved. Like I'm on the Greater Lowell Workforce Board, and there's a community connections program, and they work with the high schools, and now they're going to middle schools. And some of, it's anything from offering internships to jobs to coming to speak at a career day, right? Like I'm like, get them in, get the businesses in to go speak, and then they're going to be excited and impressed, and then probably want to take on an intern.
There is
Get their foot in the door.
Now, speaking, you guys may or may not, but there's nothing more satisfying, at least for the years now that I've been coaching, when a father or mother who hasn't been involved steps up and decides to do the book or be an assistant or coach first base. And it's the greatest thing to try to then share with them what I've learned from the people that I did that from. And then when you watch them go on to be head coaches, it's almost like the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Yeah. It's the best. It's the best when you go and you see them put their spin on everything and do it their way. And then they get a new parent that helps them out. It's the best. And that's what we all could be doing. And maybe that's that next level as we figuring it all out.
Yeah, no, I think especially new parents, sometimes they have like a fear that, they'll do something wrong or they'll screw up. And maybe that's just a function of, I don't know, if they're younger, they were more experienced because we grew up in the 1900s.
Can you stop saying that, please? I'm shutting the mics off.
But, and this year, like trying to grab like T-ball and rookie parents, it's tougher because they're new. They're not, I didn't play Division I baseball. I was like, you don't have to do that. You can be, like you said, you can be helpful. Do you know how to use a phone? Can you fundraise? Are you good at social media? It's not all
Can
about...
you sit in the dugout and keep the kids engaged?
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly. I was like,
High sneakers, high cleats.
I was like,
Can you tell them who's up next?
you're not going to run a...
It's a no gum rule.
Yeah. You don't have to give signs and run a successful, hit and run play for 4-year-olds. It's really just keeping them on the field and keeping them from not hitting each other with bats. Like, are you a parent? Are you competent? Like, that's T-ball qualifications. And the good thing that we would do is that we have people like Brian who put together, like, here's the playbook. If you really want to run some drills and do some things, like, you don't have to figure it out. We will give you everything you need to be a successful coach. And eventually, maybe you will learn baseball or softball. So that's a shout out.
There is only one Division I athlete on this panel.
And as someone who's going to have to coach T-ball again with this Division I athlete in 2 years, like, I don't want to be the only one. So let's go, parents. Get in there.
Yeah, we're all parents of 3.
That's it.
Sure.
We're a crazy club.
That's it.
Two things. Right on the LYBSL website,
Yeah.
we have a coach's packet, and we show this is how you can run a practice. We have practice plans. We talk about the rules. We talk about the objectives for 5 and 6 year old baseball. It's not that a kid's going to hit a ball out of Fenway Park. It's that he's going to be able to, or she's going to be able to functionally work for an hour to learn the basics and the fundamentals. And, you build the house from the foundation up. That's the goal. But we're trying to give the roadmap and the blueprint for everybody to say, I can step into this role. I don't have to be anything other than a willing parent that wants to help and engage with kids. Because there's a lot of kids out there who don't have parents like that. And if you have the opportunity to impact and reach them, it's an incredibly special thing. The second part of it is my dream. Now I'm on the selection committee for the Lowell High School Athletic Hall of Fame. And my dream is to create some type of mentorship program connecting people that are elected into the Hall of Fame to come back to the high school and create some type of relationship that is just missing right now. I sat and watched two of the most impressive speeches I've ever seen last year at the Hall of Fame, which was Joe Harris and Seema Soon. Mm-hmm. And they talked about their struggles coming. Joe came from, I think it was Liberia, and talked about how coaches, and this word sticks with me, poured into him. They poured into him in terms of investment, of time, of resources, of money, of compassion and understanding. It was amazing. And Seema talked about the fact that she learned so much here that she went to Cambodia and started a Pan-American basketball team that she's playing in. But Lowell High doesn't know about her. They don't know about Joe Harris.
Well, his students.
I've never gone back and had an opportunity to interact. And I think we're missing that basic nexus of creating, hey, listen, I have a law practice in Lowell. Let me come talk to the kids about something like that and see how we can bring them into our community. How can we bring them into businesses? How can we bring them into volunteering? How do we get them to be what Ryan Rourke was at 19 years old, coaching a little league team, right? Because the
more Ryan Rourke, just what Lowell needs. Yes,
but they just don't know the opportunities are there. We have to bridge that.
And you build right off that point. I guarantee you that Mayon Mitchell in the football program, or Marty Ty and the guys that are doing the stuff with the with the Lowell youth, they've probably thought of one or two things that we haven't thought of. Yeah. As much as we want to toot our horn, we don't have it all figured out.
God, no.
And the more we collaborate on all of this, I mean, I'll tell you, my big dream would be if these kids, from the minute you walk into school, if you were able to access some form of a database, not some government database, but some database where parents would just simply be able to see all the options, hear all the options available to you. And so that we see, let's say there's a kid who's 6 years old, who's a heck of a little baseball player, but they're playing nothing else. We'd love to say, well, why not try basketball? Or maybe volleyball. Volleyball's such a big sport in the Southeast Asian community, right? But there's all these kids that are playing 12 months of volleyball at like 10. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I'd love to be able to talk to the families, like, just be careful you don't burn that child out. And why don't we spread out? Try other things. Maybe it's track, maybe it's football, maybe it's baseball. Yeah. That would be that final nexus.
I feel like we need to get all these entities together. I'm going to try to do that and just have a conversation and see where it can go from here.
Well, it's just funny. Brian White, who was instrumental over at the Highlands Athletic Association. Brian is notorious for seeing a kid at a basketball game and go, he's a left tackle.
Yeah.
He's a football player. Yeah. He's not very good at basketball, but guess what? Yeah. This isn't your only path isn't to be pigeonholed into one particular sport that you're in that season. And then you start to build bridges to the next thing. And what happens is these kids start to go, wait, my buddy's playing that? I'm going to go play that too. I'm going to try that. And then you have the opportunity at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old to not be over specialized, experience all these different things, be exposed to positive role models, and then have the opportunity to decide what you want to do when you come.
And go right back to your point and gain confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of us are only, we all like to think we're good at everything. We all know.
I'm still waiting for my nomination to the Lowell High Hall of Fame.
It was.
I saw you in the Trip and Fall Hall of Fame, which we've talked about it numerous times. Like,
I feel like it should be an honorary Trip and Fall Award.
Yes. Yeah.
There would be nobody else you could nominate.
No.
I mean, I would nail that.
Yes, I think.
Seventh grade cheerleading. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only consideration.
I didn't make the squad back in the 1900s.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, that's where they cut kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talk about parent involvement. We're talking about sports, but you all have kids in the Lowell Public School system. I mean, I feel like you could also get involved on a PTO level or by volunteering at a school, and that's another way. And schools need that.
Desperately. You know I'm involved in the PTO, and I know you've been involved in the PTO before over in Pawtuckettville and at the Wang. There's not enough people that get engaged in that area, and I get it. Trust me, life is busy. Right? Life is busy for all of us, which is a whole bigger discussion for probably a whole nother time about how we are all falling into the trap of overscheduling our kids, which maybe that fits right in. You know, all of this stuff is meant to give your kid a positive environment and give them confidence or whatever. It's not meant to browbeat a kid for missing a shot or doing anything like. And so, you know, when you're getting your kid engaged and involved, just know they're going into an environment that's designed to make it better for them. And that's the same thing when you get involved at a school level. When you get involved in the school, the goal is to make sure that from a bake sale to a field day event to whatever the case may be, it's to enhance and make their situation better. And if you can give just a little bit, it goes such a long way. It doesn't
mean you have to attend meetings every month. If you are able to do that, great. But it can just be giving a little bit, and you may not think you have the skills or any. Will find a spot for you. You
Absolutely.
might have something that is needed desperately and you don't even know it.
Anybody can cook a hot dog.
Anybody.
I'm on the school site council at
Free
Riley.
DJing, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
But you have no concept from the outside world, if you're not in education, how complicated the budgets are and how complicated the needs are. And so when I sit at the school site council meeting, it's humbling because you sit there and I say, I had no idea that was even an issue. And the teachers and the principals working in collaboratively together to talk to me and teach me about this is why we need this. This is why the funding needs to be redirected here. We're submitting budgets to be able to meet the needs of XYZ that on the outside you don't know about. And that's why it's invaluable to really immerse yourself and get involved in it, because then you're going to understand why the issues exist. You're going to understand why the noise is so loud in that corner over there, because they're screaming for help. They're screaming for assistance from the outside. And all you got to do is say yes, because they're desperate to have people in the community give a voice to people who aren't being heard from. Right. If I wanted to talk to somebody, I'm going to find a way. Right. But there's people that don't have the same connections and avenues that I have.
That's right.
And it's so important. That's why to reach where people don't get the chance to speak, it's huge, because now you hear what the underserved community is experiencing, what they want, what they need, how they can help. I mean, it's crazy. It's just the opportunity is there. You just have to say yes. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to say yes.
Yeah, people feel like they don't have a voice sometimes, and that probably leads into questions about voting.
Yes, that was my next.
How's that for a tee up for you? How's that for a transition for you?
So
you should host a podcast.
So in the 2023 election, which was our last municipal election, less than 10% of registered voters came out and voted. And then when I was coming up with a list to send invitations to my fundraiser in April, I was looking through the list, and out of the 70, let's say 800 people on the list, I maybe knew about between 200 and 300 people on that entire list. Like, where are you guys? Why are people not voting? People will rush out to vote in a presidential election, but locally, you can make such a difference. You can call your counselor, you can call your school committee member, you can bump into them at the grocery store and catch their ear. You can't do that on a national level. Why are people not realizing that how much every vote counts in local elections?
You know what? I as the most recent candidate, failure.
2021.
Failure is,
I only get to say that because I joined that club.
Yeah. 2021. Yeah, thanks. So one of the things with the databases you don't see who they voted for, but you get to see if they voted.
Right.
And you can say, all right, I'm gonna go and sort. Okay, for the last election, the 2020 election, I think it was like close to 40% turnout in a lot of neighborhoods. And you could see, all right, well, why is there 40% here and 10%? What are those 30% of people? So I targeted those people, said, all right, these are the people that, if I knock on their door and they don't answer, I will come back. And I talked to a lot of them. They had whether it was a Biden sign or Trump sign or whatever they had. Like, why do you care about that? And you should care about the country. Like, of course you should. But why don't you vote for city council? I'm at your door right now. You can call me. You could call Wayne. You can call, whoever is these are people you can grab a coffee with, talk about. And it's not just potholes and traffic, although those are problems too. But just engage. And I never really got a good answer. I think it's because people were just so hyped up about social media and whatnot, and they wanted to be part of it, but city council just didn't land with these folks, which it still blows my mind.
I don't understand.
I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately people believe that nothing they do is going to make change. Doesn't matter what I do. I'm just the little X, Y, whatever it may be, and nobody's going to listen to me anyways. And I'm here to tell you that the reality, and elected officials may or may not be willing to admit this, but the reality is there's probably 200 or 300 people in the city that are engaged, involved, and active that are not elected, that are calling people and making. So think about that, guys. If it only takes 200, 300, maybe 500 people of the entire population to get engaged, involved, and for them to affect change,
Right.
you can easily be one of those people, right? You can easily become one of those people. And it sounds, ridiculous, but it's the reality. You don't even have to be one of those people. You actually only just need to know and have a relationship with one of those people, and then you'll work. So that's it. Just get engaged with the people who do. The reality of how this works, we know too. If you've run for anything, you're going to send a text out to all your friends and family towards the end. And then you're going to ask people that are engaged, involved, to either make calls or send texts to their friends and family. And if you send something out that says, I'd really like to see you vote for X, and you've built trust and relationships through sports, through schools, through all these other things, they'll say, well, maybe I don't know this candidate all that well, but I do know Brian. And I like Brian. I think Brian's intelligent, which means they can't be intelligent if they think you're intelligent. But
Wow,
you know what I mean?
keep on coming.
Yeah. He got 1 point.
I know.
He
Yeah.
said
My
1 point.
is to pick on you the whole time.
I promised people time.
I'm drilling my point home. No, but I just, that would be a way for people, hopefully, because I don't, to Ryan's point, I don't have a perfect answer as to why. But
If we did right, we would have more people voting if we knew.
And
why people
I do
aren't.
know that it isn't continuing to go down the path, and I don't want to offend anybody, but Lowell votes and all they're trying to do, they're doing good work. It's not working. So let's be honest and let's pivot. Let's pivot.
Is it because
to what
it's the
is.
people that are already voting that are the ones that are engaging with?
Yeah, I think you're
That,
attracting just more
yeah,
activists.
yeah.
Well, part of, and you're experiencing this now. Right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems with any election is the incumbent, right? Because once there's an established incumbent that's been in there for 4 years, people are afraid.
98%.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
now they're
yeah.
saying,
That's
well,
the
listen,
re-election
Yeah.
rate of anybody who makes it through their first election. 98% continue to get in
Yeah.
after their first election.
so what happens is you go in there and you say, well, I recognize this name. I don't know anybody else. I haven't tuned into a candidate's forum. I don't know what they stand for or what they believe in. Check, and you're out. Right. And now with the ward representation, it's even more limited.
Stay right.
Right. So now you're
Yeah.
sitting there saying, I recognize that name, and it's click and it's done. The biggest issue that you have is people forget that when you listen to the city council meetings and you say, well, this is a problem, but it's been a problem for 8 years, and someone's been on the council for 20 years or 15 years, 16 years. Sometimes the problem is that we're not addressing it through the cycles. And someone like you or someone who's a challenger that comes in and says, I want to challenge the status quo. I believe we should do X, Y, Z, and this is why. The engaged voter is going to say, you know what, I'm hearing you. The people that aren't engaging in that are just going to go in and check the box of the name they know. That's the problem. So you're basically, when someone goes in to look and see who they're voting for, familiarity is a detriment to someone who's a challenger.
Yeah.
Right? But people are forgetting to look and say, how are you going to be different? If I have a problem with this, how do you solve that problem? And if the problem doesn't get fixed, then it's a time for a new idea. It's time for someone else to come in and challenge the status quo, challenge it, change it, and then move us in a different direction. If you're not happy with staying still, then change it, But that's where I come from. I see it all the time. People say to me, well, who's running?
All the time.
Well, these two guys. Oh, I know that name. And they click. That's it. It's done.
Well, we
That's if they vote, right?
Yeah, if
they vote,
right?
yeah.
well, we joke. I remember one time Megan was holding signs with you, and she jokes. She's like, "You got to be like Brian. He doesn't have to run, but he's like the shadow government, and people ask him all these things, and you're there." I'm like, "Shadow government,
Durkin.
shadow
No,
government."
but
so Meg
that-
calls you the shadow government.
No, but as much as like, that's been but that is true, and it's got to be. We got to be honest about it. That's what I mean about the 200 to 300 to 500
Yeah.
people. That is the shadow government in
Right.
every city and town. That's not a Lowell thing.
Yes,
Right? That's
exactly.
everywhere. So anybody who thinks like, oh, Lowell has a problem,
Right.
no, guys, that's how the real world works. The real world works in the city where those that do get engaged and those that do get involved, they start to develop relationships. So then when you try to make a phone call, you've built trust, you've built a relationship on a different way. So even if you don't see eye to eye on an issue, an elected official is going to take your call, is going to listen to you because you've built trust. So it's that earlier engagement in the PTOs, in the sports, in those other things. It builds trust towards other things. And so that's why this all comes back together. The more we can build community, the more we can build a strong, where people listen to and talk to each other on that level, I think you can build it. I also would say nothing we can solve here in Lowell, but I think a national election day should happen.
I know people that, like, I had somebody that grew up in Lowell, still lives in Lowell, is involved in Lowell Public Schools, talking to me about the election. Said, when is the election? I'm like, are you kidding me? Every November, first Tuesday in November, there is an election in Lowell. And it's every 2 years. So next year it'll be the reps and Senate. I
don't understand, for me, and this is maybe others have come up with this, I don't know why it's not Veterans Day. Veterans Day is there to honor the people that defended our freedom. What better way to show freedom in the United States of America than vote? Right. So it should just be Veterans Day.
Yep.
Every year, election should be on Veterans Day, in my opinion. And then everybody has the day. Well, a number of people have the day off. Yeah. It's a federal holiday. Not everyone, but it gives you.
School's already off.
Schools are out. Right. Yeah.
Displacing the kids.
One other issue is sometimes when people try to engage on their own and they get stonewalled or they get met with resistance, and either it's not understanding how bureaucracy works in terms of a permit request or a request for, hey, listen, my wheel just got ripped off by a pothole, right? What do? I can't drive anymore, can't go to work, I have to take an Uber. What do? They present the claim to the city, and then it takes 6 months to get a response or something like that. That disengages people. And I think sometimes, from a government perspective, and the city has gotten so much better at it. I think under Tom Golden, they've gotten so much better at it to become more responsive. But what happens is when people feel like they're not being heard, or there's a level of disengagement, or again, with the ward representation, unless you can get to a city-wide guy or person or your counselor, then everyone else kind of stays in their lane because they're serving their individual communities, right? So that ward representation change has changed the overall dynamic of the amount of people that you can reach out to.
Yep.
Because your person is your person, and that person has to win. Someone can win the Lower Highlands with 120 votes. Someone's going to lose Belvedere with 2,000 votes, right? It all depends on the demographic and the voting engagement and everything else. But I think a big part of that is either not being able to navigate the bureaucracy, not having the patience to understand that people can't give you a simple yes or no, right? Which makes people say, you know what? I'm not part of this. It doesn't matter,
right?
Because I'm not getting any type of response to my problem.
Well, and that's where you can go to national on that, where people, will say, well, why is this policy? Why is this bureaucracy this way? Well, it's either a federal policy or a state law, and a lot of them are in place to protect against this, so corruption doesn't happen here. But it slows the gears of everything.
Absolutely.
It slows the gears. And the other point, as you're talking, is, you only get one chance to make a first impression. We've all heard that situation. If the first time you attempt to engage, you're rebuffed. If it doesn't, it doesn't come in a way.
You stick your head out for the first time, and you're like,
you get
nope.
knocked back down. Forget it. It's a very common thing, and so it's really important that people understand the sayings. They're sayings for a reason. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. sometimes you got to
Yeah,
keep pushing.
yeah.
You got to say it 5 times, 6 times, 8 times, and then 2 or 3 other people hear you and they say, I agree. And now you got a little group fighting for that, and that's how it works. So.
Why are you guys all involved in the community?
I mean, I love it. It's where I grew up.
Yeah.
So my father, I mean, I'm the prototypical Irish Catholic family. My mother's a nurse. My father's a police officer in Lowell for 27 years.
Can you throw in the Polish, please?
Yes.
You're also Polish.
Irish and Polish, right?
Thank you. I'm Polish.
My father-in-law was a city councilor, former mayor of Lowell, director of the Lowell Plan, director of the LDS.
Jim Milanazzo.
I see the level of community engagement and civic engagement that's there. I see the importance of some of the mentors that I had as kids. I mean, I still walk by guys in Demoulas and I see my coach from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh my God, Beeper, how's it going? And I talk to them and I laugh because they still call me Beeper. And I have these conversations with guys and I say, that's why they're rooted. I want to be rooted. I want my kids to appreciate it. My son Tyler sits and plays on this AI app that he has, and he redesigns buildings in Lowell because he wants to bring commerce. He wants to bring business. He wants to bring redevelopment because he loves it here. And my wife always laughs and she's like, but why here? He's like, why not here? He says, I see what happens in Cambridge. I see what happens in Boston. And I laugh and I said to her, I go, he's 13.
I was going to say Tyler is not in college.
Yeah.
He's 13 years old, but he's answered the one question that a lot of us fail, which is why not here?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why can't Lowell do that? So I feed off his energy. I feed off the energy of the kids. And honestly, going to a T-ball game after dealing with the high level stress of, you know, a district game or something like that, it helps you reconnect and reground and understand that you have an opportunity to reach a kid that's never going to be a professional baseball player, but he needs a dad figure. He needs a mom figure. He needs a coach that's going to show him unconditional support and caring. And it unlocks your ability to say, I can make a difference in this community, regardless of whether or not I'm the most successful coach of all time. I don't care if I lose every game. But I mean, there was a little kid.
I mean,
the
you
other day.
kind of care. No, kidding.
Well, I do not. I mean, at the rec level though, we had a kid the other day.
You know, those pitching rules.
Yeah. We had a kid the other day who got his first hit ever. And like I was like jumping up and down, and Pat Donovan was coaching on the other side. The parents all fed off it. It's just this it's this connection to kids that you know, they need to be part of it. They need to be picked up. It's just fantastic.
You can it again, all these, you know, sayings and isms that you've heard your whole life, but it's true. The sense of being, we're pack animals. Humans want to be part of a pack. You know, there are your individuals that, you know, go their own way, and that's great. They blaze new trails. That's wonderful. But in the end, being part of something is inside of everybody. And so if you can make change, if you can build it, it's just, for me, it's the point. Why your family is important to you, your children are important to you, and you're getting everything, you know, for them to try to, you know, have a wonderful life. That's great. But it's almost like all of these kids are part of an extended family, is the way you look at it. And as they succeed, we succeed. And by we mean Lowell. And I share what Brian said with, you know, my upbringing, but I can look at it as, you look at the people that have come before us, and you look at some of the business leaders, taking it from another side and not keep it just about sports. But what George Duncan's done in this city for Enterprise Bank, what the Demoulas family has meant to this city, what George Baracus has meant to this city, and on down the line, if you know what the Donahue family has meant to this city, what we need to get that kind of pride so that when we build success, we're re-engaging and reinvesting in Lowell like they did. And it takes all of us showing the path to the kids that re-engaging. I want the next AI company to be built in Lowell. I want the next, you know.
Tyler.
Right, so it's time.
Yeah,
He's already starting it.
You're CEO of that company.
Yeah,
I mean,
basement. But that's it. And that's what I hope that the communities that aren't necessarily engaged, the communities that I said that we're trying to get to, if they feel part of it, if we can pull all of them in, and some of these ideas that I can't even comprehend, because culturally it may not even be something that I've even registered, you know, because I don't have a family from Cambodia or Laos or the Dominican or whatever. And there's all this combination right here in Lowell that can all come together with great ideas. And that's why we do it. That's why I do it. I do it because I truly believe that this place is on the precipice of greatness because of the people that came before us and the kids that are behind. So
Great. I think that we are in a unique position where we're obviously doing this to further ourselves in our community, but we are setting an example that civic engagement should almost be a requirement. You know, it's almost like jury duty. You have to do it. And I know that they're pushing that. I know that, you know, the 8th grade this year at the Wing specifically had a lot of civics taught, and that's great. I don't know if that's school-wide, citywide or not, but just teaching kids and it could be this, it could be, you know, sports, it could be theater, it could be anything. Just
Probably should be robotics and AI.
Probably AI.
Quantum
But
mechanics.
mechanics, yeah, well, when Ty was in charge of that, so. But I think, you know, like one of the reasons why I do what I do is to show my kiddos, like, this is what you're supposed to do. You know, you don't have to go out and be on every single board and run everything ever, but just be involved. You can be, you know, the orange slice parent, as I like to call it. You know, that's all you need
And
to
there's
be.
some kids that don't get an orange slice if there's not an orange slice.
It's true.
Right.
Parent. Like, that's so important in this community.
So and if we set that example for other parents, you know, for those of us who are going to be parents of, you know, a group of parents that are going to be much younger than us now.
Do you want to say how young everybody wants to say how old their kids are? Because we preference.
I have a 13-year-old, I have a 10-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old little daughter, Lydia.
Yeah, it's 14, 12, and 2-year-old little Sadie.
And the only one who got it figured out, I guess. I have a 17-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son, and an 11-year-old daughter. My son isn't 15 yet. In a couple of weeks, he'll be 15.
Oh boy, yeah.
Mine are 7, 9, and 11. So
That's a good grouping.
they're. I mean, some days it does not feel like a good grouping.
Fair enough. But setting the example for the younger parents, and, you know, as the customer service wing of Lowell Youth Baseball, I get to talk to them a lot, for better or worse, and just like, hey, listen, you know, we're all volunteers too, and if you have a great idea, I'd love for you to jump in and help out. And, you know, sometimes I'll take folks that complaints and turn them into allies. You know, I think I've done that more often than not. I've done it at least a dozen times this year. So I think that those 12 people who complained about T-ball schedules because of rain, and it's like, listen, I get it. And, you know, what are your suggestions, and long phone conversations, and getting those folks to be engaged. It's like, all right, I think I have done something to help set that one parent who's 20 years younger than me on a path that maybe they'll be a volunteer to take our place at some point.
The people who are growing up in the new century.
Yeah, that's, you know, these
What's super cool, and Matt, I'm sure you experience this all the time, is like, I went to the Riley the other day to chaperone the 4th grade adventure. And as I was walking down the hallway, they have a new assistant principal there. She said, "Do you know where you're going?" I said, "Yeah, no, I know where I'm going." So I was walking down the hallway, and as I was walking down from the 1st grade, Coach Durkin, Coach Durkin, just screaming out the window.
That's
right?
awesome.
And I kept going to 2nd grade, same thing, and all the way down, and I'm like, it makes it all worth it. You know, like, you can walk through the park, and my wife always laughs because I'm high-fiving kids, and they're talking to kids, and they're yelling from over here, "Hey, Coach, I got 100 on my test." I'm like, "That's the best."
That's
I'm like, "Awesome, great job, buddy." And he's like, "Yeah, I did it." I'm like, "That's awesome." You celebrate that little win with him or her, whatever it is, whatever small win they got, they want to share it with you because they believe that you care. And if you foster that connection, that's going to take them through forever. They're never going to forget.
we do. Yeah, we do.
I mean, the high five they get's legit.
Like Santa Claus. Yeah, it's
But
the best.
that's the best possible thing, because it shows you that your engagement is working, not just at a parent level, right? Because you're not going to make every parent happy, but when you reach kids, especially kids that have come from difficult environments, or, you know, whatever it is, social, emotional difficulties, and they're connecting with you, you've done your job. It's pretty cool. It really is. It's very rewarding, despite the amount of time we spend.
And you spend a lot of time. I don't think people realize how much time you guys spend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love, but it is labor. But I think, you know, Ryan used the word example, that you set an example. And in my previous time being in here with Teddy, I think I used a different word too. It's a standard. And I think what's happening is, if we can set a standard as examples for everyone, this is the standard for what it should look like, then everybody can always be trying to raise that standard. The next group behind can say, this is the floor, now we're going to go higher. This is the floor. And that's how an entire community gets better. And that's how, like I say, kids get to know each other and one goes off to college to do this and back to do that, and the next thing you know, they remember they played against each other and they own a coffee shop together, or they create something in the mills, and they have a small, or 110 canal, and they start a company. It sounds corny, I guess, to people, but that's actually how it happens.
I thought you guys were going to announce that you were opening a coffee shop together.
We've already started a barely successful development company together. So, yeah. No, but I mean, that's
Right.
corny, yeah. That's a corny little example, but it's true. We are in business together, right? And it's because we spend so much time around each other. Don't worry, we'll drag him in eventually, right? But we spend so much time around each other. You share similar standards, similar beliefs, and the next thing you know, you say, "Okay, let's try something. Let's do something." And that comes from engagement, not just athletics, in all other ways.
Super quick. The 11-year-old Boomer team, right? And they're also the district team for the city of Lowell. But their parents, come from all different ethnicities, all different backgrounds, everything else. When they cook in between double headers, right? I experienced it. Was the greatest thing ever. Empanadas, dumplings, pizza,
egg rolls,
hot dogs, right? These kids are experiencing all these different.
It's like a little folk festival.
Can we bump Landry up?
Well, that's the thing is, right? These kids are experiencing all these different cultural, foods and customs and all these things that they never would have been exposed to before. Like my guys never would have had a dumpling or an egg roll. Now they have, and they love them, and they want to go to ramen bar downtown. They want to go to all these different places. And it's like we went the other day. We looked it up. Nate Sushi, who's a Highlands guy, we went and found the empanada data at Cross Point because we had his food at one of these parks, because it's like it's you don't understand the connections that get made across the board. But the point is, like, these kids never would have met each other if we hadn't gone citywide, if they hadn't been part of a program.
Parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and met some
it's
great
just
people that
lifelong
way.
friendships that get made, and these connections that get made. And like, one of the guys is a mechanic. Now everyone in Lowell Youth Baseball uses him because he's so good at what he does, and he's an honest guy that would give the shirt off his back to make sure the kids have what they need and the parents have what they need. It's just remarkable.
Well, thank you all for doing what you do for the community. I really wanted to come on because you guys are you're so involved, your parents, you're volunteering your time, and you care about the community.
Hopefully, I feel like if you're watching this podcast, you're probably involved anyway because you're paying attention. But if you haven't done anything that's helped better your community, and it doesn't have to be run a youth organization.
We didn't even spend any time talking about theater, which your kids are so heavily involved.
I mean,
right?
I joke with Shayla all the time because she's a solid softball player, but she can sing and act and dance a little bit. Sorry, buddy. But it's one of those things where activities are activities, and I'm trying to bring that to I'm on the MRT board. I'm sort of transitioning to theater parent here at this point, so jazz hands. But one of the things that I've talked to Courtney about is just the group, what you're talking about in baseball, where you've got a bunch of parents together. That could be activity here.
MRT,
so a bunch of theater parents that get together, and I know a couple of them as well, and they're really focusing on a lot of youth stuff, especially over the summer in collaboration with Middlesex Community College. So that's what I want to bring to that end of the world, because when school budgets start getting cut, it's usually the arts that end up usually getting it first. And as a kid who grew up in sports, like it never affected me. Like, we have no theater, but whatever, my baseball team's great. But now I'm like, okay, I get to see that. I know that the arts industry is a huge, way to get into any kind of, when you're talking about industries about getting into a new city or trying to like bring culture. It's a huge part of it.
Culture, tourism, economic development. And
getting more kids to sign up for theater, to try that out. Maybe that's your avenue, that's your voice. And if you love the theater but don't want to be on stage, well, there's a sound booth and there's a video thing.
Stagehand, you can build the set design.
AI theater building, and
it's an industry.
Design.
Like I say, like sports is an industry too. It's not just about on the field. Like you could be an announcer. You could be, you know, someone that does the video production.
Design the uniform.
That's right.
You know, it teaches you life lessons across the board, and it'll again, our goal is obviously to just have a good time and whatnot, but is really just to make productive adults.
Absolutely.
So that we don't have to keep volunteering, and then we can watch our kids
And
and our
stay here in
grandkids.
Lowell and make Lowell better.
Exactly.
There's a show coming to the auditorium, a cooking show,
Yes.
right? The Master Chef, I think. is
Oh
what it is,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? But they're gonna do like in front of you demonstrations of cooking and all this other stuff. Like it's reaching all the different all the demographics, checking so many boxes, getting an opportunity for not just this, not just that, everything. Theater, plays, music, concerts at Boarding House Park. All these things are here, and it's just giving kids the opportunity to be exposed to so much.
Yeah.
It's invaluable.
Yeah. So, idea that has listening this entire time, I think what we need to do collectively, yourself involved as well, we probably should have once a year some kind of a youth
Summit.
athletics and activities, even if it's just a night, like a gala and a night at, you know, at the auditorium, and probably a summit prior to, so we talk about what we're going to do there.
Yeah.
Because you think about, I'll circle back, Nancy Donahue has been, and the Donahue family have been so instrumental in the arts here in the city.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have other people who have been so instrumental in athletics. And if we were all in the same room, I'll guarantee you there are people who've been like, I've never even thought to give
Let's do it.
$5,000. All right, we got an idea.
Yeah, we're doing
That's
it.
the one.
Yeah, that'll be
And-
great.
And then the only other thing,
Sorry, Meg. Matt just created a new board that we're on.
no, yeah.
It's not important. It's just an event.
No, it's an event.
Yes, yeah.
And the only other thing I want to make sure that we get out there is it's coming up on Championship Week here around the city. And so the semifinals for the Senior League will be at LeLacheur Park tomorrow at 5:30 and 7:45.
Nice.
So that's awesome. Come see the kids. The level of play at our 13 and to 16-year-old, it's unbelievable, the level of play. And it makes you feel really good about us coming together because that's the culmination of all this work that all those kids stayed together. It's really awesome. And so free event, come on in, bring your own food and water. They would no concessions, but that's tomorrow. And then our championships are all next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all around the city at different parks. We'll be having our different championship games. So come out and see the kids.
Find us.
And make friends.
Yeah, find us on Facebook and our website. We'll get all the information out there.
lybsl.org.
.org.
Org. Con will take you.
Don't go to
Con will take you to China.
Don't go to com.
Okay, go to org. I have an event on Friday that I want to plug. So we picked up our papers to our nomination papers. So I'm very excited. It was such a cool.
Do you have
feeling.
them here? Can we sign them for you?
I have them over there.
All right.
Definitely
And
after you
I really
sign
want
them.
us
Thank
involved
you.
in it anyway.
I do. Yes, you guys are awesome. So we're gonna be at the Sweet Bar, which is the old Burbacks for people who like a good, landmark. From 4:30 to 8 on Friday. I'm inviting any candidate that wants to come. Bring your nomination papers too. We want as many people there as possible. Give people the opportunity to meet. There's going to be a couple of food trucks. I have some games, some crafts, obviously ice cream. So it's going to be really fun. 4:30 to 8. It's supposed to be, I think, the pick of the weekend in terms of weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as
so-
it's not Saturday. Is it Saturday?
It is not.
No.
It's Friday.
Yeah, it rains every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
And it's going to rain this
13.
Saturday.
13 weeks in a row.
Yep.
Yeah.
85%
For those
chance.
of us that
That's great for you. It's
Yeah.
great for you.
Go to sports.
That's great.
It's going to rain on the weekend.
Crazy.
No problem.
Yeah.
So, anyways, come down and vote. November 4th is the election. Please vote.
Man.
That's all I got to say. I mean,
Get engaged. We have a chance right now in this city. We have a chance. We have poured more money and more time and more engagement in, and there are new people stepping forward like yourself. Get engaged.
Yeah.
This is our chance. This is a window right now, especially when who knows what's going to happen budget wise across the state and federally. We can do it locally in events like this by getting together, helping each other out.
Amen.
Let's do it. Right?
thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
And thank you to Teddy for giving me the opportunity to host the Daily
You did
Pulse
great.
today. This was so fun. Hopefully he'll ask me back if I'm not on the air for a long time. This is why. But if I am, you'll know he liked it. And he will be back again tomorrow. So no worries. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you to WellPoint for hosting and sponsoring Inside Lowell, and for letting us be part of the WellPoint studios here. See ya very soon.